Yeah, so much sugar. Infrastructure fund in this right now. Right. You do have your good will, but no. Some of them, right? Is there anything?
Okay.
Hey, Logan.
Hey, good morning. All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, wonderful. That helps a lot. It's a great day for stormwater, but it's not always a good day doesn't always bring out the joy, does it? The sun seems to do that for us. Okay, so I'm Dodd Galbraith. I'm the chair of the Metro Stormwater Committee. We are hereby convened, so we've got some items of business we need to take care of first. If the Gould Road applicants want to come on up and just sit down, make yourselves comfortable, that'll just kind of move things along. And if you don't mind kind of being on display while we take care of our business. All right. All right, so our first two items of business, we typically try to take these together, are the January minutes and decision letters. We want to take probably about 3 minutes and let everybody just kind of review those and make sure they're okay with everything. We're technically by rules supposed to use active time during the board meeting to check those, not just before the meeting. So we have proper due process. So we'll just take a moment and it'll be quiet for a while we review that. So. Okay, does anybody have any edits, changes, amendments, condemnations? We'll share. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll introduce a motion to approve the minutes as noted.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, motion passes. Now we're down to the decision letters. Don't you wish every government hearing could run this quietly? Government event, government activity.
Are you referring to this week's council meeting?
No, I was actually thinking higher, but
Okay.
that's a reminder. It works at all levels. Democracy with energy.
Yeah. What time the council meeting ended? At 9, 2 a.m.?
2 a.m.
Is that a record for Nashville?
I don't need any new passions, and that's one that will definitely occupy more of my time.
You make a motion.
So I don't watch those. Listen.
Here, I'll make another motion to approve the decision letters as noted.
All right, we have a motion to approve the decision letters as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a properly made second, properly configured motion and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right. Okay, so this opens up our business portion of the meeting. This is kind of how it works. We're going to give you all 10 minutes to make your presentation. I'll start a clock. I'll give you a 1 or 2 minute kind of hand signal. When you get down close, I'll just do it at 1 minute and just kind of give you a little heads up. Oh, yeah, and then we'll have a public hearing, and people will get up and speak, and they'll have a couple of minutes each to offer their perspectives if they want to. The first thing that will happen is that staff will introduce the case. They're going to read everyone's legal rights so that you know your rights of appeal. We'll repeat those later if we need to for folks who are further down the agenda. And then I will note, we're going to move one item to the end of the agenda, the 2023 401 7433 Sawyer Brown Road. We're going to move you all to the end, if you don't mind. Okay. All right. Just kind of, if you need to make a phone call or take a break, just kind of let you know that. All right. Mr. Bowman, are we ready?
Yes, sir. Opening statements to the applicant. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Stormwater Management Committee, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the committee's decision. You are advised to seek the independent advice of legal counsel to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been satisfied. Case number 1 on the agenda is 2022-00017 at 1400 Gould Boulevard. APN is 183-000-15100. Inspector is Aaron Scarborough. Council District 33, Antoinette Lee. Applicant's request: disturbance of Zone 2, 20-foot stream buffer, allowance of an existing building in the Zone 2 buffer to remain, continuous mowing and maintenance of portions of the stream buffer, modified buffer signage is necessary, encapsulation of a portion of a stream, uncompensated fill in the floodplain. Appellant is Lolo Enterprises, LLC, represented by Travis Bonar, W&A Engineering. Comments: Stormwater staff. Previous comment: staff currently in design discussions with site. Any plantings in Zone 1 should be trees and the species should be varied so that no one species constitutes 20% of the total. Updated comment: staff does not support encapsulation of a stream. Any mitigation plantings should be trees and the species should be varied so that no one species constitutes 20% of the total. Codes, no comment provided. Planning had no comment provided. And greenways, no comment provided.
Okay, so at this time, you'll start your presentation. Ask you, whoever is kind of leading the discussion, to introduce everybody at the table, just kind of say a little bit about their expertise so we know what kind of resources we can draw on in the committee discussion. All right, and you're also on public TV, so just keep that in mind. All right. Thank you.
I'll keep it civil and hopefully keep this short for you guys. It's a small site. So I'm Travis Benar with W&A Engineering. I'm the engineer of record. To my left is Gary Dorner, property representative. To my right is Andrew Sanders of Griggs Maloney, who's done the hydraulic determination on the site. And then to my very far right is Owen Penn, also of WA Engineering. He'll be helping with the presentation here. First, I want to give a little background on the site. It was developed back in 1990. It's industrial. They didn't have any water quality at the time. Jump forward to 2022, Gary's company came in to purchase this property with the intent to develop a soundstage on this lot and music recording studios. He also owns the property across the stream there. However, during this purchase time in 2022, the flood map was revised. So we have an exhibit there to my right. You can see where the property is relative to the floodplain last updated in 2017, highlighted in red. Keep going. Right there. And the most up-to-date flood map, which was just updated in 2022, is shown below, which has been the cause for the variances. So that's where we're starting to have our issues. But you can see there, this flood map, it is at the headwaters of Hurricane Creek, and we're off a tributary to that. So that's kind of where our influence is. We're about 500 feet away from Hurricane Creek. During our initial submittal, we assumed that the stream 1 running along the back of the property we assumed it was a stream. We went ahead and did hydraulic determination on it. And that's where Griggs and Maloney found that a stream 2 in the middle of the property was present, and he's going to elaborate a little bit more on that and the qualities of the stream. And it really constrains the site. So knowing that it was a stream and knowing the development, we've had a lot of constraints with the site. We need about 49 parking spaces, and I think even with the variances we're requesting, we're only getting 33 here. This stream is about 10 feet away from the existing building footprint. If you can show photos. We got some pictures there, just kind of elaborate. So when this site was originally developed back in 1990, the cheapest and easiest way to drain the truck dock there was to create a ditch, which then ties into stream 1 running along the east end of the property. So having considered all that, our 2 primary variances are surrounding stream 2, and that would be encapsulation of stream 2 and due to stream 2's location, floodplain fill out there. Without these variances, we would not come close to the parking required. I believe in our submittal, we provided you with an alternate layout. That would still require some variances. However, we only get 11 of the 49 required parking spaces out there. So our site, also with the alternate layout, is not quite viable for the truck access needed for the way they want to develop this. We've relocated the building based on our previous submittal to kind of help assist with that and avoid our impacts, but we're still, we've looked at this many ways. There's no way to avoid variances on this site and maintain water quality and bringing this site to compliance. And with that, I think I'm going to let Andrew discuss the qualities of the stream and what type it is and what encapsulation would do to that.
Yeah, I can certainly do that. So as Travis mentioned, the stream in question occurs on the southern side of the building. And at the origin of the stream, we noticed a small seep that introduces hydrology into it. So that was the main reason behind designating this as a stream, because it's likely the Corps of Engineers would designate it as an intermittent stream. And that's largely based on the hydrological component itself. In terms of geomorphology, if you can see on some of the pictures, it doesn't really have any lateral migration. It's not really incised into the soil profile. It's got a rock line channel. The channel bed is rock lined. Essentially, it has all the hallmarks of a man-made channel, and it's my presumption that during groundwork on the site, originally in the 50s, I think, or in the 90s, you said, I think, I would presume that they encountered that groundwater seep and then just made the channel to convey that hydrology off to the boundary of the site and then ultimately into this receiving stream. It's a little bit of history about it. It's not much of a channel, as you can tell, so. It currently features really no riparian zone or anything like that, so. Nothing fantastic.
That concludes our presentation.
Thank you, sir. Record time. All right. All right, so at this time, we'll open up the public hearing for members of the public to offer their perspectives, pro or con. If you want to speak for or against the current proposal, you'll come up to the mic, state your name, give your address, and you'll have a couple of minutes to share your perspective. Does anybody want to share anything about this particular proposal? All right, seeing none, we'll turn to emails, voicemails, phone calls, billboards. Anybody have any other written comments that they provided?
Well, first of all, I'll say, when they first came in January, a council member had written in support of their application. I reached back out and I didn't get any communication whether or not she was in support or, since the plans have changed slightly. There is some in opposition letters from some neighborhood organizations, Mill Creek Watershed Association, Cane Ridge Community Trust, and one other of the community organizations in the area that are in opposition to this. So you may want to read through those and kind of see what their reasonings are.
Okay. So everybody had a chance to review those letters? That was in your packets. Okay. All right. Okay. Seeing that there's no other public comment, we'll close the public hearing and we'll start the committee discussion. We'll probably have some back and forth and some questions. And I guess I'll start off, since everybody's kind of got their head down looking at their information. Are you only talking about encapsulating the stream that was in the photographs that you described? And what is the total length of that stream again that you're proposing to encapsulate?
Yes, it is just stream 2, and we're proposing to encapsulate about 140 feet of
140 feet. Okay. Does Rebecca, does the stream go off the site? Is it connected to another? I realize this is a heavily developed area. There may be other encapsulated portions of that stream nearby, or open, naturalized portions of that stream. Where does it start and where does it end?
So I have the non-functioning microphone.
That's okay.
I believe the stream starts here, turns this way, and stream 2 enters stream 1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think you said a spring is the primary source of flow?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you see the spring bubbling out of the ground at the head of that area?
On the day we did the determination, you could, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was our reasoning behind classifying it as a stream. It's likely that the Corps of Engineers would look at it as an intermittent stream at that point.
Okay.
So the blue on this page that we're looking at is the 100-year floodplain?
Yes.
Okay. And so that stream that you're encapsulating has floodplain associated with it?
Yes.
So what are the effects of like encapsulating?
So right now, of course, we can't encapsulate without filling in the floodplain. We can't balance the floodplain given the current site constraints. So we're still analyzing the HEC-RAS model.
Okay.
We need some people to do that, but this is pending a no rise.
So is that the portion of your request that's the uncompensated fill, or is there, okay.
And I'll say just on that, this area is in effective flow if you look at the model because it's so far detached and there's almost a building between them and Hurricane Creek. So it's kind of, it's not backwater, but it's ineffective. So they do have the model and they are working on some sort of no-rise.
And just to be clear, your mitigation, can you just kind of articulate the list of mitigation actions that you're proposing for this?
Yes, we'll be, so of course, this doesn't fall under individual permitting, but we will be planning in both Zone 1 and Zone 2 buffers to mitigate out there. We'll have a detailed landscape plan to go along with both of that. And then I think at the southeast corner of the property, I think we'll do some additional plantings there as well, but it's not included in this current submittal.
It is included or it's not included? Why is it not included in this?
I think we just missed one little corner for our planning detail.
So would you be willing to amend it if that became a request?
Yes.
Okay. As a condition. Did you propose any pervious paving at all?
We have, we're doing bio level 2 retention. We are open to pervious paving if that helps.
Okay. So just as a reference for everyone, you know, typically we don't judge the quality of a stream on its current state, you know, just like we don't judge an old Mercedes on its age. You know, it's a Mercedes. Maybe it needs a paint job. Maybe it needs to be restored. You know, it's got value. So we have to be really careful about making sure we recover the value if we mitigate it. We also have to be concerned about how we've treated other people in the past. We also have to be concerned about making sure that, you know, we're not doing something here that would endanger flood management in Davidson County. So everything we harden and don't make up for with mitigation, somebody's got to bear the burden of that extra flooding. And typically encapsulation of a stream that has an upper portion, you know, will cause flow to be squeezed and constricted, which means it'll spill out earlier before that constriction and flood people that didn't used to flood. Your stream's different. It kind of starts on your property. So that's a factor that we can consider. So.
Was there any historical investigation done to confirm that this, number one, was in fact, would we have an idea of where the spring is located, and the intention of encapsulating this is to provide conveyance for that spring? This is a man-made channel, essentially, for that spring?
That would be our opinion, yes, based on the characteristics of the channel that, well, you can see on the pictures. It just has a uniform bed and bank, a rock line, channel bed, so it kind of fits the hallmark for something that's been anthropogenically modified.
But you weren't able to find any historical evidence of the site prior to it being developed in the 90s that would help us see that condition?
No, not based on aerial review, no.
Yeah.
So will y'all need a TDEC approval to encapsulate that stream, so like an ARAP?
Yes, we will need an ARAP. Since our impacts are less than 200 feet, it will not require an individual permit, so it should just be a general permit and a nationwide permit through the Corps of Engineers.
But that's not been approved yet or applied for?
No.
Okay.
Is there any reason why y'all haven't done that? Because I know we deferred you once, and by policy, we typically require that you bring permits in hand.
That was pending the outcome of this, but we'll apply for it.
Okay. I want to hear what I'm inclined to do.
Well, Well, let me go back in history one last time, because we talked about deferring this before, and so there were several other items that were on the list for variance that we haven't discussed today. So I'm curious what happened to those other items, because I think we had an uncompensated fill issue due to the elevation of the new building. We had a buffer disturbance on the other leg of this stream that's on the, I guess, page north side that we haven't discussed yet. So are we not impacting those areas anymore, or am I missing something?
So we had to redo the site layout. So originally, our January submittal had the new building pretty much in the center of the site. We moved it to the north end of the site and actually raised the elevation of that new building footprint. So to avoid impacts on those buffers.
Can we go back to that plan? Like, I'm sorry, that's on our screens.
Logan, when was that heard previously?
You want to see this plan?
Their presentation plan that had the revised layout. Yeah, the original and then the revised, if that's possible. If it's a big effort, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he was prepared to do that.
What date was it?
Typically, what we do is we have all the records associated with the variances available so we can compare and contrast. So just bear with us.
Okay, while Rebecca's pulling that up, so are you all proposing to encapsulate the entirety of the stream on the site and put parking over it?
Not the entirety, but a good portion of it, probably about 2/3 of it.
Okay, so like where it originates?
Yeah, from where it originates to pretty much the edge of the property, and then it continues down the edge of the property to stream 1.
Okay. And what kind of encapsulation are you doing?
We're proposing a 3-sided box culvert and then a spring box at the headwaters.
Okay.
Do you have a score for the determination?
We do, yes. I think it scored out to be about a 16 or a 17 in terms of the TDEC HD methodology.
And the original plan's on your screen there. That's the January plan that they had originally submitted. But at that time, they didn't know that Stream 2 was a stream.
I see. And then you move the building to the north side of the existing. Yeah.
Y'all might want to have your debate on the open mic.
So did staff take a look at that hydraulic determination score and agree with its classification as a stream? This is a spring-fed conveyance.
We have not reviewed hydraulic determination. They just told us it was stream and we accepted that. Submitted to TDEC for concurrence. Is that correct?
We just received concurrence from TDEC.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And then Logan, one last piece, I'm sorry. Give me the reasons for which staff did not agree with their request to encapsulate the stream.
That's just not something that we typically agree with either way. I mean, we almost always make that comment.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if there were actually specific reasons as to that we
I don't
can
know if Rebecca or Michael
place into
feel like
this
there were specifics.
Okay.
The encapsulation of the stream basically takes away any benefits that it could receive from, exposure to sunlight, macroinvertebrates, any critters that potentially live in there, the benefits of having a buffer along it, filtration of water, all that just get taken away and it just gets, routed quickly somewhere else.
Right, but this is also a spring situation, and in this Laverne area, I think karst is pretty prevalent, so these pop up everywhere. This was essentially, I think, a man-made conveyance in a sense, and it's a relatively low hydraulic determination if it's 16 or 17, but TDEC had classified it as a stream and confirmed that. So that's a piece that I'm having a little bit of a hard time with because it's a spring.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with the definition of determined methodology, but it tends to more urban streams lower.
And my last piece, did you try BZA for a parking reduction?
That's
Or is that next?
Next.
That's next.
We don't know how much we need to reduce it by.
And that's kind of the basis for my concern. There's a lot of due process steps that have been kind of skipped. You know, if you just kind of go one step to the other, by the time you get here, this can be really efficient. It doesn't guarantee you'll get a vote in favor of what you're looking for, but it collapses the process quite a bit. So I'm inclined to vote for a deferral. Ask you to go back and go get your permits, go to the BZA, see if you can ease your parking requirements, and then come back and see us, and we'll see what we can do. You know, it's in this kind of heavily developed environment, the chances of a stream being restored and being a healthy contributor to the neighborhood ecology, to me, is small. Although I share Rebecca's comments that she seconded that I said earlier, you know, it's always better to try to preserve restoration opportunities because that's lost benefit to the community in a wide variety of thoroughly documented parameters. And but if you can reduce your parking spaces, you can avoid it, and you can restore it, maybe make it part of your landscaping. If you can't reduce your parking places, maybe pervious paving, maybe lots of trees, maybe lots of plantings could help mitigate it. But it would be prudent if you could document the ecological benefits that you're replacing in doing that versus what could be restored on the site. Okay. All right. All right. Does anybody have any comments or concerns that they want to add to anything I said, or are we ready for a vote on
For our
deferral?
knowledge as a committee, how many times can we defer?
I think unlimited as long as done in 30-day increments. That's what I remember previous council saying.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. It's fine.
Trying to confirm, but that sounds right to me.
Okay. All right. If we're wrong, there's not a huge penalty for it, except, do you all agree that it's okay to defer? Okay. Yeah. All right. That's the one that counts. Okay. All right. We have a motion. All right. We have a motion to defer. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion to defer in a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those voting in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Yes, sir, because he missed part of the discussion. All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. We're ready for 2023-0002 Bounty Club. Or Carl, excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry. 2022-2018 5930 Carl Place. If you'll come on up. All right, you're there. All right. And did you hear your legal rights read earlier?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we'll go through the same process. Logan will give us an overview of your proposal from the staff's perspective. We'll give you 10 minutes. We'll have the public hearing, and then we'll discuss it.
Sounds good.
Thanks, sir.
Case number 2 on the agenda is case 2022-00018, 5930 Carl Place at 5930 Carl Place. APN is 09-106-009300. Inspector is Kimberly Hayes. Council District 20, Mary Carolyn Roberts. Applicant's request, disturbance of the Zone 2 floodway buffer and modified buffer signage is necessary. Appellant is Dell and Susan Jeffries, represented by C.J. Merle, 615 Design Group. Comments. Stormwater staff. Previous comment. The previous house had level 3 damage from 2010 flood and was torn down. The parcel was sold by Metro for $10,000 and should remain open space. This site is under enforcement for fill and clearing the buffer. Updated comment. Site was purchased by current owner on 4/14/2021 for $10,000. Codes, no comment provided. Planning, no comment provided. Greenways, no comment provided.
Okay, so we'll start the 10-minute clock, and then we'll go to the public hearing.
Sounds good. As Logan mentioned, I'm CJ Merle with 615 Design Group. Good morning, committee members. So if you remember correctly from our last submittal, we showed 2 homes on the site. We have eliminated the southern building and structure. We are now only showing 1 structure on the site. The Zone 2 buffer comes onto the site probably 52.5 feet from the southern boundary. The total impact to the Zone 2 buffer, I believe, is plus or minus 600 square feet. It's important to note that this site, the southern boundary, is plus or minus 675 feet away from the stream to the south. So there's a lot of dense buffer already there. What we're doing with the site, he mentioned that there was disturbance within the buffer. If you've seen the photos that were submitted with the previous submittal, the ground has been stabilized, and then the updated landscape plan that we show with the submittal, we are fully replanting the Zone 1 buffer and the portions of the Zone 2 buffer that are 5 feet from the side of the proposed structure. This entire site is within the 100-year floodplain, as is the site to the north that has been recently developed. We will meet all floodplain requirements for the structure, and we are meeting the infill requirements for stormwater measures as well and water quality measures. There are multiple homes that are within the Zone 1 and Zone 2 buffer to the northwest, as well as multiple homes to the southeast that are also within the Zone 1, Zone 2, and I believe there is a couple that are within the floodway as well to the southeast. But that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. We know you've been here before, so we're a little more familiar with your case. All right, at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor or against the current proposal? All right, seeing none. We have any emails, phone calls, voicemails?
Nothing on this case.
Okay. All right, so we'll close the public hearing and open it up for committee discussion.
From Metro, correct?
Yes, sir.
And were there any deed restrictions on that property when it was purchased?
Not that I have reviewed and am aware of.
Can the property owner confirm that? Is he here?
Yes, this is a claim deed that during the COVID period, and we had a lot of extension check and picked up the deed. Maybe we went down and reported it, and there was no restriction.
Thanks.
So there was a reference by staff that there was flood water on or about this property. Can you all clarify? I assume this aerial is part of the 2010. Oh, so the water I'm looking at is what receded from the original flood extent. Okay.
And I believe that matches fairly close to the 100-year floodplain line, which obviously the 2010 2010 flood was a lot larger than that.
You're saying the blue line matches the 100-year?
Very closely, yes. If you look on the plans that we have, we do call out the 100-year floodplain on our plans, and that line does match fairly closely with the line we show on our plans.
Yeah, but our staff comment was about that there was a house there before that flooded.
Yes.
In relation to the flood, and that house got torn down. And then, I don't know, I don't think it's a buyout property or anything like that. It was a tax sale or something.
I believe the house was still remained on the property after 2010 for a few years before it was demoed.
The thing I struggle with on this is if it were a blank piece of property, it'd be hard. But if a tornado blew this down, it'd be rebuilt, even if it were in the floodway. I mean, we just went through that. And so, or if that house was still there, is there more or less rooftop and impervious in the floodway or in the buffers from pre to post? I know the house is gone, but
I would imagine that it's either equal to or less. I mean, you can see the existing house right there. Our house is only 17 and a half foot wide. I think it's also important to note that only half of our structure is within the Zone 2 buffer, not the entirety of it. And then on top of that, the existing house that was there was no water quality measures, no stormwater measures on site. We're proposing modified French drains and pervious pavers for the driveway, which would add to the infiltration measures on site.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling with the same thing. I mean, on one hand, and this is something we've typically acted on, if there's confusion about the processing of property and its risks associated with flooding and water quality benefits, distinct confusion. We've tried to take that into account. That's a due process concern.
I understand.
People be treated fairly. On the other hand, assuming, and I don't think you were, assuming that there had been adequate notice all along. Hey, this probably should never be developed. You were never told that, I'm sure.
No, sir.
We're losing floodplain storage by putting a house there. So in other words, if we put a house back there, empirically, somebody's going to get more water pushed off on them.
Well, technically, but also technically, we are required to have flood vents on our crawl space. So really, if we analyze the total volume that you're losing, it's very minimal. So we have floodplain vents on the structure, which is a requirement from Metro Stormwater. It will be a crawl space structure, and I believe the FFE is 3 feet above the floodplain, which is also a requirement.
So you're describing a mitigating effect of the flood space.
Correct.
Of the flooding space, the crawl
Correct.
space.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's a FEMA metric, FEMA authorized metric.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the other clarification I might make too is that we don't regulate this part of the floodplain. That's what FEMA standards are for. So, okay.
Was staff satisfied with the mitigation effort? I see the plan. That's the last page.
Staff feels that this area should be open space. It was sold for $10,000. And anyone familiar with what lots in Nashville go for would understand that a lot that's $10,000 is not deemed to really be developable. It's encumbered by, floodplain and Zone 1 and Zone 2 buffers. So it's hard to say anything is going to mitigate its intention of being open space.
This is a good one for Metro Legal. If Metro is going to sell a property that is, the opinion is it's undevelopable, then there should be something in the deed, especially if it's being sold from Metro, to prevent something like this, is my opinion.
Can I come in? Metro was,
Sir, would you mind coming up and sitting here and turning on the mic?
I'm Dale Jeffries. I own the 5928 and was there when the house was on that property and occupied. And then Metro got it for unpaid taxes. We owned the adjacent property, so they notified us when it was going back on the market as a adjacent property owner before it went public. And we thought it was a good opportunity to, buy the property and hopefully be able to build a house on it. But they were listing it for $92,000, not $10,000. It was during COVID time. I guess nobody responded. Because we owned the property next door, we made that offer. Didn't really expect to get any response, but they accepted it. And we met them in the lobby out here in this building and exchanged a check for a quick claim deed. No discussion, no meetings, no nothing.
So the advertised price was $92,000.
$92,000, and it's still valued on the tax records today at $105,000, I think. So with that in mind, we thought we was doing the right thing in purchasing a piece of property to be able to build a house on it, and owning the ones next to it that we were renting at the time. So it's kind of like, if we can't build on it, then it don't need to be valued at $92,000. We're paying taxes on something we're never going to be able to use.
Well, there is a federal judicial precedent that addresses investor-backed expectations. You've got a really low investment here, but you were willing to pay higher. Other people could have paid higher. So it's not been a very clean process.
All right, legal, I have a question. I've had some experience with quitclaim deeds, and sometimes those are almost not, you're not really purchasing the property, you're purchasing the right to the property at some point.
No, no, that's not really correct. Really, the difference between a quitclaim deed and a warranty deed is a warranty deed comes with a warranty of prior ownership, an obligation to defend should, another person come and say that they own it. It comes with other things. By quitclaiming, you're basically saying you're transferring the property, but a lot of times maybe what you're thinking of is some people use quitclaim when they're not 100% sure how far back the ownership goes. Maybe that's where you're thinking. So a quitclaim, generally, if you're going to buy a house, you would want a warranty deed, right? You would not want a quitclaim deed. But the way Metro typically gets rid of all their property or sells their property is by quitclaim. We never give a warranty deed. I can tell you that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say that we saw this before, and it had, if I remember correctly, it had 2 houses on it.
Correct.
And so, and they were encroaching into zone 1 and zone 2. I feel like there's been an effort they reduced their plan by half, in a sense. We're encroaching into zone 2. Maybe more mitigation, but I do feel like there's been an effort to pull back on the plan.
I appreciate the efforts that have been made, but I also just want, the hard part for me on this is, the expectation of being able to get, build on this property and, make a profit or something. And that is not a hardship that justifies a variance typically with this committee. And so thinking about why we grant hardships, a business decision that may not have worked out the way you had hoped is not typically why we grant variances. I appreciate everything you all have done, reducing to 1 building and all of the mitigation. But I think we also have to think about what our charge is and the objectives of the committee.
Logan, what would staff say if they rebuilt on the same footprint or foundation of the previous house? Be the same.
Yeah, I still think we'd still make them go through the same process of.
It's a significant modification, so, yeah.
I mean, if we would have gone that route, which a lot of people have tried, not with this property, but a lot of people have done in the past, I think it would have been similar to our first submittal where we were encroaching in, well, the existing house was well within the Zone 1 buffer. This one doesn't touch the Zone 1 buffer at all. In fact, the plantings that we're proposing within the Zone 1 completely replants the Zone 1 buffer and leaves it untouched. And then obviously you can see we've tried to push the house as far to the north as possible to get it out of the Zone 2 buffer.
So here's,
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's, in better quality than what was there before.
And the structure will be in kind with what you see next door.
And the mitigation, I mean, I think it's an appropriate plan given the size of the site and the amount of area of impervious that's being added, considering the acreage of the site. It's substantial of mitigation.
what are you proposing for the driveway?
Impervious pavers.
Okay. So just to provide a little past kind of precedent, we frequently have denied Zone 2 intrusions when they've taken up most of the buffer. We've typically worked with applicants when they've mitigated and not taken up most of the buffer. I think this was kind of like right on the line. It's eaten up more of the Zone 2 than we would typically do, but there's been some poor communication and some poor due process here, and they're proposing an improvement to the ecological benefits of the site as well as a porous paved driveway.
To build on your point, I think they have more opportunity than most of the cases that we see for the improvement. I mean, this is 3/4 of the site that is being mitigated.
If there were no due process concerns, I wouldn't vote for it. But I'm inclined to support something if you'll maintain the signage and protect the buffer that you're going to enhance.
And also from a precedent standpoint, this is a really good note, and this is for Metro Legal again, this is a really good note for Metro Properties to hopefully watch this case so that we don't find ourselves in this situation again.
I understand the sympathy, but I do think it's flood maps and FEMA maps are readily available. That's the whole point of them being public. I don't believe there's any sort of legal obligation for this to be noted on their deed. And so I understand the sympathy. I understand where you're going with your vote. But I don't believe that there were any procedural errors on Metro when they transferred this property.
Legally. Now, from a human relations standpoint, they could have been a little more forthcoming.
I mean, I think.
Yeah. But I know lots of real estate transactions that follow the pure legal disclosure requirement, and people still get hurt. So I will add that, based upon your investment in the property, an environmental group could easily come in here and buy this from you and give you some profit, because they pay a lot more for properties like this that are worth a lot more around town. So that is an option on the table as well for us to consider, that he could recover his investment if he marketed it right. So
I have a question for the property owner. So did you look at flood records? Were you familiar that the area had flooded in 2010 since you own the adjacent parcel?
No, ma'am.
So you had no idea that the area had flooded?
We knew it had flooded because we owned the house on 5928. It flooded, and we had to repair it. 2010 was kind of a unique situation where there was a act of nature, or where there was some errors in letting Hickory Lake through. As far as I know, it's never flooded before. And I didn't know, about it. We bought the property in, I think it was 2006, next door. And the only issue we had was in 2010 when we had the flood. And the house next door sits on the same elevation, flooded the same as would the property there. So it just didn't realize it was an issue at the time. We have went to, the house next door. We've raised them to meet the elevation requirements. And in my eyes, there was no difference in that property and the one right next door to it that we could build on, and everything was fine.
So you were aware there was some flood risk from the property that you
I did know it flooded in 2010, yes, ma'am.
And you elevated those to mitigate.
We didn't rebuild that property until this year.
Okay,
And
but
we
you knew
tore
there was
down the house.
requirements due to flood elevation as you rebuilt.
Right, we had to raise the level of the first floor, which was same as we proposed to do on this house.
Okay.
Are those properties insured through the federal flood insurance program?
They're required to be.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The bank required it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
We knew we were in a flood zone, had to have flood insurance, but that was all at the point.
Yeah, this was right on the fence for me. I mean, it's, I'm not happy about the lack of clarity, but there are all kinds of flashing signals, that this is problematic. It's not like the owner doesn't have experience in the neighborhood. They have a low investment in property that could be recovered. Given Nashville's flood history and future, I just don't think I can support it. That's where I'm at. And I'm just one vote, so.
I think it's also important to remember that my understanding of the variance is not necessarily related to flooding. It's more related to the encroachment in the buffer. So like the flood risk, they're mitigating by raising the building up that it needs to be. So they're handling the flood risk piece. I think what we're being asked to evaluate is the encroachment into the buffer.
Right, but the whole reason they're asking for a variance is because they assumed, possibly didn't do the due diligence on the front end and purchase the property with the assumption that they would be able to develop it. Right, isn't that the underlying reason for the variance?
And then
You're, as a consultant, you're also making the statement that everyone should understand the process they have to go through to develop a property, and that's just not the case. And I understand that shouldn't be an excuse, but at the end of the day, technically, if someone doesn't hire a consultant to help them through the process, then they're not going to understand.
the fact that the house was already there and it was occupied during the time we owned the house next door, and the fact that nothing had changed, they both flooded in 2010, and everything was okay on 5928 to rebuild. We had no reason to believe that it couldn't be done here. The variance is a minimum intrusion, and we're going to do things to the property that would increase you make it better and certainly not worse.
That's what I was thinking about. Is the stream better or worse if this happens?
The stream might be better, but the flooding won't be better.
I don't think the flooding is going to really change because they're adding storage in the pavers. They're mitigating meeting the infill regs, but the basement volume is not gone. It's really just the CMU block.
2 feet of inundation is not going to be absorbed by the pavers, but it will be absorbed by the crawl space. So, right.
What was the question?
Just a statement. I'm just saying 2 feet of inundation won't be absorbed by the pavers completely, but the crawl space will absorb some of that inundation.
Correct. And then all equipment that runs the house is required to be elevated to be above base flood elevation.
Yeah.
They also just put in a new water meter and made us provide electric box for that lot. As we were developing 5928, we had to go through the expense of all that and get it. They got the inspections done, and the electrical box has already been put in just recently for that lot. that's another indication that, you know, evidently they at some point expected another house to be put there.
What is the approximate distance to is it Richland Creek?
It's, the southern boundary is, it's like 650 feet away.
So there's 650 feet of buffer essentially between this site and the stream.
And that's not including the buffer that's on site.
If you could see fit to support this, we would definitely make it a asset to the community. It wouldn't in no way take away.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I think we're ready. I think and we'll find out in the vote which way it's going to go. So I'm going to make
always do.
I'm going to make a motion to approve based on this revised plan and the mitigation plan that's been developed and the signage that's been provided. You mentioned community benefit. I would like for you to add some signage that's educational to the importance of this buffer, as we have provided in other examples. I think Logan can provide you a sample of that, what we've done recently at this dead end. I know pocket parks are a hot topic for neighborhoods these days, and if this can be used for a place for someone to come in and not only be in the green space, but learn about the buffer, that's a community benefit in my mind. That's my motion.
All right, we have motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion's been properly constructed and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, all those vote by saying aye if they're in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have 4 votes in favor. All those opposed? Nay? Did you vote aye? Or?
I voted aye.
Okay, so we have 5 for and 1 against. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right. Thank you for your honesty and for helping us understand it. All right. Okay. That's a good discussion. That's the way it ought to work. All right. So let's now proceed to Bounty Club final, right? All right. 2023-0002, 366 Night Drive. We're going to move it to the end. Is that the one you were referring? Is that the one you were referring to yesterday? All right. Did you all hear your legal rights for appeal read earlier? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we don't need to repeat those. Okay, so Mr. Bowman's going to read a summary. We'll give you 10 minutes. We'll have a public hearing and we'll debate it.
Case number 3 on the agenda is case 2023-00002, Bounty Club Final at 3666 Night Drive. APN is 049-000-31800. Inspector is Tommy Biggerstaff. Council District 3, Jennifer Gamble. Applicant's request, disturbance of the Zone 1 and Zone 2 stream buffer to allow stream crossings within 1,000 feet, continuous mowing and maintenance of portions of the stream buffer, modified buffer signage is necessary. Appellant is the Farm Nashville LLC, Representative Matt Bryant, M2 Group LLC. Comments, Stormwater staff. The site application was thorough and specifically addressed the respective variance requests for each hole with rationale given from a golf course logistics best practices perspective. It also referenced stream determinations on the site with pictures. Since for the most part this project doesn't create significant imperviousness in proximity to respective stream buffers, the primary water quality consideration for this project will likely be course/turf maintenance, chemical applications to maintain the course per course maintenance standards over time. Appendix A in their application outlines a detailed proposed course management plan approach that acknowledges the importance of appropriate chemical applications to the course property as well as spill prevention practices relating to protecting local stream/water resources. 2 specific staff comments. While the course management plan is extensive, be aware that there is not a regulatory mechanism that would formally obligate the site to implement the plan in perpetuity, and staff would request that MWS Stormwater staff be added as a notification contact. 1.H. Page 17 of 258, as MWS staff would likely investigate, in addition to TDEC, if a spill or release from the site occurred. Codes, no comment provided. Planning, no comment provided. Greenways, no comment provided.
All right, so y'all know the drill. You've been here before, but if you wouldn't mind introducing everybody first, then we'll start the clock.
Sure. Matt Bryant, M2 Group. We have Trey Marucci with 8 a.m. Golf, Tad King with King Collins Golf Course Design, and Doug Sloan with Holland and Knight. We also have Tony Grow here with us from Grow Environmental, our environmental consultant. So thank you again for allowing us to be here. Just thought it would be good to update you. I believe when we left here the last time, we had a preliminary approval with 6 or 7 conditions. Just kind of wanted to talk about how we went back to the drawing board, if you will, and address those and just give you a quick update. So try not to be overly wordy. Community outreach. We did conduct a community meeting with Council Lady Gamble up in Whites Creek. Had a pretty good attendance. Had a lot of good conversation with folks. Felt like we left there with no opposition from anyone in the community, at least that attended that meeting. Felt like we also had very good support from Council Lady Gamble as well. So I feel like that was a good meeting to have. The second item was providing more details of the crossings. And so I know we submitted a lot of information. I'm sure you probably haven't had a chance to go through it all. But we did provide specifically sheets C 2.10 through C 2.17 that was a field surveyed location of every crossing. So, accurately showing the stream cross section, the span details, also an aerial picture at each one of the crossings as well, to try and give you as much information as we could about each one of the crossings. Those crossings are going to be golf cart crossings for the most part, except for, 2 vehicular crossings that we're going to have for the roads going into the facility. The third item was, buffer impacts and what alternatives we could come up with. We went back to the drawing board and reduced our encroachments into the Zone 1 buffer by 27% from our original submittal, and then reduced them by about 15% in the Zone 2 buffer. So we felt like that was good for everybody, in our opinion, and still worked for the golf course playability and layout. Getting TDEC and Corps of Engineer concurrence, we have that on the property and feel good about what we're showing. We've also gotten clearance on the streamside salamander from TWRA, so also feel good about that. The next item was mitigation plan. And we've provided that in, I guess what we're calling our landscape drawings, or they were prepared by our landscape architect. And so they show all the mitigation. I think we specifically quantified the number of plantings, the approximate square footages of seed mixtures and things, and where that would be located. So I think we had talked a little bit about that the last time. How do we quantify what we're doing? And so we made an attempt to quantify it. There's actual numbers in there on those plans. Buffer signage was the next item to talk about. And while I think we'll have some buffer signage, I think the majority of the stream buffers are going to be marked with red stakes. And we feel that since this is a private club, the membership will be educated on what those red stakes mean. That's the stream buffer. They need to stay out of it. No one will have, access to like vehicles or anything to be driving through the stream buffers. I mean, they'll have golf carts, but obviously those will be, the red stakes will delineate the areas where they're allowed to go and where they're not allowed to go. And then I think the final item that we talked about was just, what are some of our offsets to buffer encroachment? And again, those mitigation plans that we submitted, I think, show how we're going to do some actual stream mitigation, but then also planting in areas that are outside of the stream buffer to try and enhance the overall property. So I think that's really generally it. I mean, I think our requests are still the same that they were the first time, but I feel like we've put in quite a bit of work to try and address your concerns, and certainly happy to answer any questions anyone would have.
Is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, sir. All right. So at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. I know there was quite a bit of interest in the committee, making sure that you all had public engagement. You described that in your remarks. So is there anyone here who'd like to speak for or against the current proposal? If you would, if you'll come up to the mic behind the glass booth. I assume that's COVID glass and not bulletproof glass. But there's a button there that you need to push to turn it on. Okay. There you go. And ma'am, if you'll state your name and your address, and then I'll start a 2-minute clock, if that's okay with you.
I am Wilma Buchanan. I live at 3480 Knight Drive for 22 years. And I am glad to see the golf course go in. But I'm a little concerned because I was there in 2010 when we had the 2010 flood. We were not greatly impacted, but I was unable, my husband and I, to attend the meetings that Councilman Gamble had because they were on our religious holiday. So I was concerned, particularly, there's 13 acres right next to me. I was wondering what they were going to do with that 13 acres. Are they going to, it's been closed off because there's already been a hearing on that. I'm very pleased with that. So there's no entrance from Knight Drive or Whites Creek. But I was wondering what they were going to do with the 13 acres. Also, I would like to see, I have not been able to see the layout of the golf course. Those are my primary concerns because I know there's a school down the street. I don't want them to be flooded. I don't want to be flooded. And there's a nursing facility on the other side. And we do have a lot of water come through that area when we have those large downpours. Not too often, but we do have them. So those are my concerns. And if someone could answer those or help me through those, I would be very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. The applicant, I'm sure, took note of your comments and questions, and we'll give them a chance for rebuttal at the end of the public hearing, if it's okay with you all. Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. Really do appreciate you coming out. That's always welcome from the public. Anyone else like to speak? All right, seeing none. Emails, voicemails, blimps with electronic readout.
We did have a letter of support that's from Councilmember Gamble. It's not in your package because it came in very late, but I would like to probably read that into the record.
Okay, please.
So that way we have it on file. She says, "Good morning. This message is to express my support for the stormwater variance request regarding Stormwater Management Committee 2022-0016 golf course on Knight Drive. A community meeting was held on January 31st at Whites Creek High School, where the development team discussed with neighbors their plans for the golf course and requests for the stormwater variance to restore culverts and add crossings over the streams on the property. There is broad support from the community for the project, and for that reason, I support the stormwater variance request. Thank you. Jennifer Gamble, Metro Council Member, District 3.
All right.
And nothing else after that.
And nothing else. Okay. All right. If you'd like to respond to the lady woman's questions, and then we'll close public hearing and we'll start the discussion.
Sure. And we're certainly happy to stay after the meeting and show her the plans. I just looked real quick here, and it looks like the property in question is potentially right at the southeast corner of our property, right there. So, from the site plan, there's going to be a service drive that comes into the property to get back to the maintenance facility there. That's well away from the property line. So feel like that hopefully is not a significant intrusion. There are no structures proposed in that area directly adjacent to it. That you can see probably about midpoint of the property on the south property line. We do have a maintenance facility that is proposed for the golf course to house mowers and whatever maintenance facility. And that also is going to be in excess of 100 feet from the property line. We've kind of shown on that site plan a pink hatched strip around the whole property, it's 100 feet wide. We were just trying to demonstrate that there wouldn't be any golf course itself, playability within that 100-foot buffer. But then most of the structures and things are further into the property, so they're greater than 100 feet from the property line. As far as drainage goes, we are going to be adding impervious area to the property, but not a significant amount. I mean, the majority of the property is going to be golf course. I think we talked about it a little bit in the last meeting, sort of that layered structure of a fairway that has, sand and gravel and turf and topsoil, all those things that, certainly will help improve water quality, but also serve as a means to, detain that water for a period of time, before it's released into the streams. So specific impervious area as a result of like the clubhouse and the maintenance areas and drives and things will certainly be also dealt with in accordance with, Metro stormwater requirements. So I don't anticipate that there would be issues with stormwater for downstream homeowners, but it's certainly a concern that we're going to, address as appropriate.
All right, ma'am, are you able to stay afterwards to look at the maps? Are you satisfied with that answer? Yes. All right, yes, ma'am. All right, thank you. Thank you for your response to her. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and open it up for committee discussion.
I just want to say I appreciate that you all have worked really hard to address our questions and comments with the additional drawings and plans and photos. So that's definitely helpful, and I appreciate that. And having your permits, the concurrences in place before you come here is appreciated as well.
I have two questions. First, am I understanding correctly that you guys are not wanting to install the typical Metro stream buffer signs and instead put the red stakes up?
That would be our desire. That typical Metro signage would be in the clubhouse, right? I mean, so that it's still available, but it's just not spread out all over the golf course.
Okay.
And since if it were a public course, I think it would be different because you'd have to educate new people every day. Mm-hmm. This will have the same members, right? So that education can occur on a maybe less frequent basis to put it out there. Everybody knows the rules, but not having all those signs all over the property would be the desire.
Okay, yeah, I like the idea of putting the signs up because, we can't, there's no way to, regulate that the members are being educated. And so I think it's important to delineate the buffers with the signs. And then my second question is, and I may be missing it in the plan set, you guys did a great job of showing the crossings and everything, but is there a material call out somewhere or a schematic? Or just what does it look like, or am I missing it?
Well, so we do have some details in there, and I'll look here on what page, but, I think the vehicular crossings are going to be a conspan crossing.
Okay.
So they'll be concrete that'll be cladded in stone. I think the golf cart crossings will be more than likely timber, right? But I don't know that we've fully decided on what the material will be.
Okay.
That'll probably come into play once, the clubhouse and sort of the materials list gets selected for the clubhouse and the maintenance area, just to try and tie it all together. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think that it will, and I'm out of my lane here because I'm not a designer, but it'll be rustic in nature, right? That's the whole point of this, is to make it feel like you're out on a farm or in the country, right? Mm-hmm. So it certainly will not be utilitarian in nature.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the spans are on the very last page.
Are all your zone 1, of course, zone 2 buffer encroachments, you're removing all the existing vegetation and you're replacing it with turf? Is that a blanket statement?
I don't think it's a blanket statement because I think there will be some vegetation that might stay. Right, it's kind of hard to know for certain. Certainly, if it's deemed invasive, we want to remove it. Right, but if it's not deemed invasive and it also won't interfere with play or interfere, meaning be 20 foot tall, so you can't hit a golf ball through it. I mean, if it's more low-lying stuff, then it probably will.
Well, it just says shown on your plans currently where you've identified buffer 1 or zone 1 encroachment. Should it be our assumption that all of that area will be cleared and grubbed and then replaced with sod, essentially?
Either that or a seed mixture, right? We have a specific seed mixture. Right.
Yeah, but it's going to be grass, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I guess the question of whether like stumps get removed, like I don't know that we'll necessarily do that, right? Because then that creates a huge scar in the stream bank, right? It might make sense to remove the tree so that you can hit a golf ball over it, but maybe not remove the stump, if that makes sense.
Is there precedence, and this is maybe for staff, I mean, when's the last golf course that came through the committee?
I've been on this committee, 14 years? I can't remember one, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm old. But
You've been here 100 years, right?
Yeah, this is the first. And that's important. Well, that's in part why we had more substantive comments on this one. We just don't see these sorts of things, so we wanted to be a little bit more extensive. I would say regarding the buffer signage issue, I think there could be something addressed as far as how often the buffer signage goes up, and then the sign is a template, but the template could be varied depending on what the circumstances are. So that might be something to consider on your final rendering on this. And then also as it relates to the staff comments, there was a comment made about the fact that a lot of the plan that they proposed, there was no regulatory mechanism, not that they wouldn't, but there wouldn't necessarily be a regulatory mechanism for them to do it. If you wanted to button that up, that could be as simple as putting a note on the appropriate sheet of the plans and then including it on the long-term maintenance agreement, because once it gets on the long-term maintenance agreement, then that would be something our SCM inspection staff would follow up on in perpetuity.
that's a condition that we can add to a motion, right? That's what you're saying, Mr. Hunt. If we so desire. Yeah, that's normal operating procedure.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing I'm in fog about is where is the quantity of mitigation per the quantity of impact? Do we have like a table that summarizes all of that? Because, when you're crossing a stream with a bridge, you're removing all the trees that were there. And so theoretically, all that should be replaced at some 1-to-1, 2-to-1 standard somewhere else in the buffer. Because that's lost spongy areas, it's lost water quality, filtration, it's lost stream bank stability. Tree roots kind of hold the stream together. It's lost food habitat that drops food in the stream for the aquatic life in the stream. So we ideally we want to replace all of that if mitigation is appropriate, because you don't have a hardship. This is not an anomaly, has been referred to earlier. We can't grant without a hardship, without mitigation that replaces it. I mean, we could, but then we'd begin to undermine the regulatory process, and we wouldn't have a fair operating regulatory process. So it could also be challenged judicially if it weren't properly mitigated. So that's the main struggle I've got, is that the point that Mr. Hunt made about ensuring that that you'll do what you recommended you would do also relates to empirically, are we getting back what we're losing?
So I can address that. I mean, we haven't specifically quantified the number of trees that we're removing, but we have specifically quantified the trees or shrubs or other plantings that we're adding, and that's on page 19 of the landscape plans.
I guess spatial area is what I'm more concerned with. Yeah.
As far as like the square footage,
Yes,
or
sir.
the linear
Yes, sir.
footage.
Yeah, that's really, we don't really have a standard for tree density in a buffer, but we do have a spatial standard.
Their landscape plan, I mean, their mitigation on sheet L-1, who's the landscape architect?
Hebrew Ball, he's not here today.
Oh, okay. I mean, they say area of mitigation provided to be 2 times the amount of zone 1 and zone 2 disturbance. So quantify that.
Is it quantified there? I mean, does he have a number to back it up?
He's got the areas of disturbance.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got the area mitigation.
Which, based on that statement, it should be 2 times that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
zone 2 is.
What we don't have.
I understood that's what they were going to go back and do, I think I'm remembering that correctly,
I
but
mean, zone 1 buffer encroachment is 4.7 acres. So you're going to be doing, 10 acres of replacement. And then zone 2 is 1.7 acres. So I'm assuming this landscape plan that's been developed is representative of that.
have y'all verified that, Michael? I see.
A lot of acreage.
I think it's what do you determine is the buffer. I mean, I'm looking at this as, I said it in the preliminary, the fairways are providing 500 feet of buffer along a lot of areas to the stream versus if this were a subdivision, there'd be roads and houses. And there's nothing to prevent that as long as they have the appropriate crossings. I mean, keeping this a golf course is just great value to the Blue Lines.
Yeah, I would just offer, as a staff perspective, one of the things, at least for me, that was somewhat unique in considering this was the fact that our RV is basically based off of turf grass being the standard for LID,
For zone 2.
for water quality treatment. So thinking in terms of that, and then plus what might be the by right development of this as far as some constructed regime, buildings and whatnot, made it a little bit difficult to reconcile, but yeah, so.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you can always come up with a worst case scenario to make this one look better, right? I mean, that's, you can always do that. We got to deal with what we're dealing with. And, the community is going to benefit more from optimal sponginess on site. And it sounds like your landscape architect has delineated that. Okay.
Sure, and I think the last time we talked, right, we had this very same discussion, like how do we reconcile what we're doing, right? And so, I mean, this was our best attempt at saying, here's our proposal for reconciling. And we feel like it's a pretty good solution. We feel like the net effect is going to be positive in this result.
And we do appreciate net effects. So.
What's surprising, if you've ever worked on a cultivated farmland, the runoff coefficient's actually pretty high.
Yeah.
And so when you turn it into grass, it goes down significantly.
Yeah.
That was an important statement too, Michael, but your basis is turf in an LID, and I guess this is considered an LID?
In the modeling, it is. I'm not making any, direct comparisons, but yeah, in the modeling, that was what the RV was set to meet, was turf grass.
Yeah.
So while there obviously are other impairments, and I know you're talking about the buffer in particular, and that's what we're thinking about. It's not like what's running into the buffer, which is why we have the buffer, is going to be some manner of imperviousness or something else. Mm-hmm. So just it's what makes this particular site, being a golf course, unique.
Yeah, and it's really the forested buffer, the zone 1, that we're, really zeroed in on. And that normally, if I remember in my farm pond building days with USDA, that's a increase of 3 times of sponginess when you have forested versus pastures. So you got to have 15 acres to keep a 1 acre pond full year round as opposed to 5 in a pasture.
And these buffers that we're replacing in 2X are, I mean, it's all mowed, right? I mean,
The majority of the existing buffers, is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean,
or the proposed?
disturbance, the area that's being disturbed of the buffer is going to be.
They would be manicured on a daily basis. Right. Some of them will be left to grow wild.
Yes, some of them will be left to grow depending upon the nature of the design of the golf course, but some will be mowed, yeah.
Okay, so on the zone 1, would you mind reading the ratio again? And is that all forested?
Yeah, it's for both zone 1 and zone 2. It's the mitigation is 2X.
And zone 2
planted
is
with native grasses and shrubs, seed mix, and trees.
okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, can we circle back to the buffer signage real quick? So I think, Mr. Hunt suggested, some alternatives there, and Kate suggested, raise some questions. How frequently, what's the spacing on the red stakes?
What's the requirement of 100 feet?
Yeah, a typical like golf course stake that you would normally see out there, right? It's 2 by 2 and it's about 12 inches tall, right? So, it's very inconspicuous and doesn't, those would probably be every 100 feet if they needed to be every 50 feet, to delineate a specific area. But
I want to think about the purpose of them, because a lot of the buffer signage is to prevent people from getting in there and mowing it, stirring it up. And so, people that are playing golf aren't doing that work. They have a crew that's trained.
Yeah.
And so that's why I would not want to see the sign every 100 feet or just the standard sign. I'm more into the education value in a centralized location and having more of a handbook that teaches staff what they can and can't do and where. And then, the stakes to remind them of where that delineation occurs is helpful, but every 100 feet is, I wouldn't want it less than, I wouldn't want it any more frequent than that for sure. I don't even know if that, that's a lot. You look down a fairway that's a 500-yard hole and you're going to have 150 stakes. That's a lot of stakes.
Yeah.
seems excessive.
If it would make sense to, have the stakes, but also either have like one sign near a hole that's educational, or have a kiosk at the beginning of the course that talks about the stream buffers and what you all have done to protect those and the importance of those for.
Yeah, and that's what you do see at some of the other courses. Is it when you first get to the course, there's a sign that even cites to the Metro ordinance about why you can't go into that area. So you're educated right out of the gate.
A lot of courses have comfort stations, bathrooms, something like that. So if there's one near a crossing, you could have essentially a map like this that identifies where buffers are and just has an explanation and says, what they are. Because people stop at those and you're waiting on your friend.
And I think it's fair to say
that way it's not at the first hole. It's not.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say too, golf courses are intensely boundaried off, just for aesthetic reasons, for golfing reasons, and the maintenance staff have routines that they don't violate, because this is a very valuable aesthetic experience that they've got to preserve. As far as that goes, you could have large caliper trees along the boundaries, and that would stop a lot of machinery intrusions. But I just don't think that would be as common on a golf course as it would, say, on a commercial site where you've got a vendor, that's changing every 2 years, mowing the site, and they don't know to stay outside the signs. There's not signs there. They'll mow because they want to mow. That's what they do for a living. But in this case, I think we could compromise on signage.
Yeah. You don't want somebody claiming it's ground under repair and getting free drops when they really just hit it out of bounds.
I wish that were my concern.
I think we would be okay with putting the signage at either the cart path crossings or at the comfort station, in some select locations where it's visible.
Yeah.
I think that's a valid point, like putting it in an area where people are kind of sort of milling around and not, like a cart path crossing might not really do much value now that I say it out loud, because somebody's cruising right over it and they're not going to stop as they're going over the crossing to read it. So if we could have it in locations where people are kind of, stopped, that might be helpful.
Maybe we should just ban bad golfers, and that would keep them out of the buffer. That would solve a whole lot right there, wouldn't it? The hacking and the chopping with the driver. Okay, that shows you what I know. All right, so it sounds like there's a variety of conditions that we can add, but the one that seems to be most important is the permanence factor with the documentation that Michael suggested earlier.
The other piece is I'm sure you're going to be very successful, but if it's not and the property is no longer a golf course,
They got to come back.
they got to come back.
It'd be a new development. You know, if a subdivision comes in, they don't inherit buffer disturbance.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. All right, we're ready for a motion. We got people waiting.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
No conditions.
I think the signage has been addressed. That's the only thing that I would really condition. I think that the mitigation was addressed in the plans. Does everybody feel comfortable with?
What about Michael's comments concerning the documentation on the maintenance records? And did you hear those earlier?
For upkeep of signage?
No, for permanence of the mitigation areas.
For the course maintenance plan that was submitted that related to chemical applications and those sort of aspects.
Is that included in the plans or notes anywhere? Or do we need to make that open?
It's not included in their proposal right now. Can you articulate specifically what you were describing earlier, Michael?
We do have a section, and I think it's Appendix A of our report, right, that talks about how we're going to manage chemicals and spill control and things like that. And so we wouldn't take any issue with providing that specific information in the LTMP, that would, be recorded with this project. So
is that everything you were talking about, Michael, in terms of documentation?
That should cover it.
It was
If it's the
add
committee's desire.
contact.
Michael articulated it better earlier. He said there were two types of documentation that would provide more permanence.
Notes on the grading permit plan, appropriate grading permit plan sheet, just referencing the fact there was an Appendix A that they were going to administer, and then in perpetuity, as our inspectors go to the site, they would have something to go back to work with staff about, are you doing this? Are you making sure of those sorts of things?
Okay.
And everybody would be working off the same sheet of music, so to speak.
All right.
So would you mind restating your motion if you
We'll
accept
start
it?
over. Make a motion to approve with the condition that in the annual maintenance and inspection plan that it's annotated that the appropriate chemicals are being used. The ones that we have approved, discussed, I don't know the great terminology for it. And that there's the element of educational signage at some point on the property, whether it's on the course or in the clubhouse.
Does that cover it, Michael? Okay. All right.
I'd also ask that we get the professionals to stamp the plans, because I don't think these are stamped, or the landscape plans, but I might have just missed that.
we can do that. I'm willing to do that.
Okay. All right, so we got a motion and we got an agreement from the applicant to stamp the plans. We don't need to make that a condition. Okay. All right. All right, you're on the record, so that's good. All right, so we have a motion that's not been seconded.
I'll second.
I like that head nod. That works. All right, so motion been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Any further head nods?
I'm impressed there wasn't a clause for free membership for Jay.
We can't do that.
I'm not sure what that says about Jay.
I go to jail.
That's right.
Would not be playing golf.
We I like to see Jay around town at Wendell's and places like
He might volunteer to do the annual inspection.
There you go. Yeah. All right, so we got a motion to second. Any further discussion about Jay? No. Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you for putting in the hard work.
Thank you.
Going through the
Thank
due
you very much.
process. and for being cooperative.
I want to make a motion for a quick restroom break.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back. Yeah, probably wouldn't hurt. Could you go ask him to do that? Okay, let's see if we can reconvene. I see him back there now. Who's he with? Who's that with him? Your daughter. That's your daughter. Wow.
They're out of school today.
Cool.
Today.
What are they
Like
closed
tomorrow's Good Friday.
Oh, okay.
Usually they're off the Monday after Easter. They're off today. Yeah.
Must, yeah.
I was like, congrats, you get to go to anything today.
Bye. Okay. I'm not going to repeat what Jay just said. It's his age. Did you say you were over 60? What? Are you over 60? Oh, I thought you said you were over. Now that you're over 60. Oh, he can't be 60. Okay. That's not evidence. So. Okay. All right. So did you all hear your rights of appeal read earlier? Okay. We did. All right. So you know the process. You watched us go through it. So we're going to go through it again. All right. Okay.
All right. Case number 4 on the agenda is case 2023-00003, 4308 Lindenwood, preliminary at 4308 Lindenwood Drive. APN is 131-050-00300. Inspectors Kimberly Hayes, Council District 34, Angie Emery Henderson. Applicant's request, covering portions of the stream. Appellant is A&E Wheeler Family Trust, represented by John Drunowski, Triad Engineering. Comments, Stormwater staff. Staff does not support encapsulation of a stream. Codes had no comment provided. Planning, no comment provided. Greenways, no comment provided.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes after you introduce everybody, and I'll give you the 1-minute signal, when it gets close, and then we'll do the normal routine you just observed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, thanks, committee, for your time. Really appreciate it. I'm joined by my wife, Blake Murray, and John Judzanowski, who's a qualified hydrological professional and civil engineer, who's been helping us with the proposal.
Okay, all right, great.
So before discussing the specifics of the variance, I thought I'd familiarise you with the property. So 4308 Lindenwood is a private residence in Green Hills in Nashville. The property neighbourhood is not near a floodway at all. There's a channel behind the house that conveys stormwater and also during some months seep, which originates from a property a few doors up the channel. There is a man-made channel, which I keep referring to, with rock walls and bedrock that conveys the stormwater to drainage on the street and onto stormwater sewer system. In terms of the drainage, it's been measured approximately at 32 acres according to stream stats. Thanks to John. The channel is quite wide, up to 12 feet width and up to 4 feet deep, and has significant capacity. During the May 2010 floods, which we believe was a 500-year event, had about 20 to 25% capacity based on the residents at the time. So significant capacity, which we're not planning to change at all. Based on John's preliminary assessment, it's been assessed as a stream. We understand because it's less than 100 acres that if we do remodel the home, then the Zone 1 buffer will kick in effectively at that juncture, which will be 30 feet either side as the stream, as you can see, as portrayed on the diagram here. The property is marked by topographical conditions which are unusual to the street and to the neighbourhood. The property slopes at either end and creates a bowl effect where the channel runs through the property. I've mentioned the man-made channel And in addition to that, there's actually a sewer line that crosses the property and also goes up to the east of the property. So it has some unusual physical characteristics. We believe there are a few hardships associated with the property. Because of the unique topography and physical features of the property, there are a series of buffers which overlap and create almost like a Venn diagram. I think that 96 feet at the front, 10 feet on both sides, 20 feet at the back. There's a buffer zone associated with the sewer line, 10 feet either side of the sewer line. And then, of course, the stream buffer, which is also 30 feet. So it does create a Venn diagram which severely impacts any redevelopment of the house at all. And part of our variance today is to talk about that hardship. The other hardship relates to the channel itself. As I've described, and I think, Rebecca, there might be a picture of the actual channel itself showing that hardship. It's a bedrock base, very bedrock base throughout the channel, and it has, as you can see on the picture here, sort of rock walls into the channel. It's been that way we understand, for 50 years or so. So we believe the structure represents sort of an inherent and obvious danger. We have young children. The next door neighbour has 3 young children under 5. And in speaking to them, they've mentioned that they are concerned by this as well. As we think about whether that matters, I was interested to read in the Stormwater Management Manual, section 2.1, that the primary objective, literally number 1, is to protect human life and health, and we feel like this is relevant for our submission. So moving on to the variance itself, it actually has 2 parts, frankly. One is to have Zone 1 buffer relief. We're thinking very minor. The 30 feet of the channel away from the house, we would leave that as is, frankly, untouched. We'll talk about mitigation in a second, but we feel it's substantial. But we are looking for as little as 5 feet Zone 1 buffer relief towards the house, simply to build on the current footprint, nothing more. In fact, it's slightly less than the current footprint because we'll be losing the patio area, but that's effectively the idea. The second part of the variance is in relation to the covering portions of the channel. Again, this is to maximise safety and make it free for hazard for our kids and neighbours' kids, so on and so forth, which we think is a hardship, which I'll get into in a moment. Mitigation. So in terms of mitigation, to the extent there's any relief of the Zone 1 buffer, and to the extent there's any covering of any portion of the channel, we've developed a plan, albeit preliminary. We'd clearly have to vet that through further to have significant coverage of mitigation, at least 1 for 1, but approaching 2 for 2 is the idea. The other aspect of the mitigation is that towards the house there's actually concrete and concrete sort of path on the patio, which is impervious at the moment. So if, as the 30-foot buffer kicks in, we would be replacing that imperviousness with perviousness. We'd have just pure grass rather than having the impervious nature. So we feel like that will, if anything, enhance the buffer, particularly towards the house, particularly. So the notion is that we'll look to cover, portions of the channel, not all of it. We're thinking the middle 2/3 at least of the channel to maximise the level of safety for the kids and for the neighbours' kids. And we'd do so really similar to what they have today, which is they do have covering of the channel, as you can see in the photo. We would just extend that covering. There's also a plan potentially to add grating. So again, we're trying not to encapsulate. We've thought with John about what the alternatives would be. Next door neighbours have a pipe, of course, up the channel completely, and as do the neighbours after them. We believe that's probably won't be acceptable. So we thought about a 3-sided box. We thought that could disrupt the rock walls and maybe the channel itself upon construction. So really we're just following what is there today, but extending it, which is just literally covering the channel, but having grates so that the sunlight can still come in. So the channel itself would still be open on both ends. It would still be exposed to all the elements of the weather and the environment. The channel itself would not be an increased risk to flooding at all. We're leaving it effectively as is. As I said, even under a 500-year event, it was only 20% capacity. So we feel like that's the same. We are definitely increasing, we think, the mitigation and perviousness of the buffer area to the tune of 1 to 2 times what currently exists. We've gone through a process here where we've tried to do the minimum, we feel, in order to maximise the safety of the channel, which, if you do see it, you can quickly tell that it can cause enormous damage if you were to fall into it, particularly a child, particularly our kids who are rambunctious. And so following the best we can, the legal framework, we feel like there's, absolutely good and sufficient cause. We feel like there is hardships. We feel like even though there are, quote unquote, bridges at the moment, there'd be nothing for a child to walk into this and fall in. And I think it's steep enough to cause a fracture or something worse. We feel like that is a real hardship. What could be worse than having a child hurt? In terms of the house, we think that's also a hardship, although we concede and acknowledge that in this forum, it's unusual to grant any sort of Zone 1 buffer allowances. So we're asking for really a minimum, just so we can build on the existing footprint. And so with that, I'll conclude just by saying, at the heart of our proposal is, again, we're not a developer. It's just a private residence. It happens to have a particular topographical impact. It happens to have we think, quite a dangerous channel. So we're just merely trying to ensure that the channel is as safe as can be, and that we build on close to the existing footprint, albeit slightly less than the existing footprint. I'll pause there and welcome any comments.
All right. Is that the end of your presentation?
It is.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So at this time, we'll open up the public hearing for anyone to speak for or against the current proposal. Is anyone here who'd like to speak? If you'd state your name, sir, and your address, I'll give you...
Thank you.
We'll give you 2 minutes after you introduce yourself.
All right. My name is James Fenton. I live at 3523 Trimble Road, which is on the opposite side of this. And I'm actually not here for or against. I'm just here to ensure that I am upstream, and there have been impediments put in the stream that have caused flooding on my property. And I'm just here to ensure that we won't be negatively impacted is the point. What I've heard so far sounds clear that they don't intend to, but I'm not an engineer. I didn't stay in a Holiday Inn last night, and hydrological determinations are not my strong point. So I'm counting on this group to help make sure that our property remains safe.
Thank you, sir. We're paid well to do that, so okay. We're all volunteers. All right. So any other public comments for or against or neutral? Going to add that to my repertoire, neutral from now on. So, all right. Seeing none, any emails, letters, community cakewalks against this proposal?
We did get I got an email from a neighbor asking them a very similar question about capacity of the channel, because it sounds like potentially during the 2010 flood, at least maybe downstream was affected. I don't know about this property specifically. And the council member was not able to make a recommendation either way, so she's neutral.
Okay.
As far as we could tell.
All right. Got the Switzerland of debates going on today, don't we? Okay. All right. So we'll close the public hearing and open it up for committee discussion. How long have you all been in the house? When did you acquire it?
We're under contract to purchase the house, so this is we're going to close in a few days. But part of our due diligence, we noticed all this. We want to make sure even though we're under contract, we're as covered as can be.
Okay. So are there any kind of legal considerations for an applicant who doesn't have a title to the property being here today? Whatever decision we make, let's say if we were to grant the variance, just out of that would be the one that might address the issue of ownership and versus applicant status, the scenario.
This is a preliminary, isn't it?
Is it preliminary?
Oh, it is a preliminary? But even, is that an issue? I mean, can you grant a preliminary to someone that doesn't yet own the property in question?
So the current owner has agreed.
Condition of their ownership.
Okay.
And we are under contract.
I believe they're the applicant, and the owner signs the application also.
The owner did agree.
Did the owner agree? Okay.
The owner agreed to the variance.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, that's good. All right, that's just due process stuff. That's what we're going to make sure of. Make sure it's clean, got a clean title. Okay, so to speak. All right. Any other questions?
If this is, I don't know who's run the calculations. I know you said 20% capacity in a 500-year storm. Can you reshape it? Just remove the stone? Turn it into a grass swale, or?
Can we remove the stone?
I mean, is there, I mean, you talked about pipes and box culverts but I mean, if it is 40 acres or whatever the acreage was, I mean, can you just turn it into a grass swale?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to any and all suggestions. We thought cover would be the least damaging to the rock wall, if that's significant. If it's not, I mean, we were really happy with the three-sided box solution, frankly. But we thought that would be disturbed, so.
There's no detailed calculations that have been done. What Chris was referencing was the previous homeowners. I think the issue with turning it into a grass swale would be the permitting through TDEC and the Corps of Engineers, because essentially it'd be a loss of a channel, right? So you'd be permitting the loss of a stream, to replace it. I don't know that that's ever been done, or in my experience, it's never been done where you take a channel and make it into a ditch. It's more of an encapsulation. Maybe Rebecca could speak to that.
I think an encapsulation would definitely require a permit, but
encapsulation would require a permit, but like the stream bed, as part of encapsulation, obviously you're losing some of the stream bed, but typically the culverts are constructed below the stream bed elevation to maintain. You're trying to maintain passage of aquatic life through that culvert or encapsulation.
I've done projects of this scale, like on a school, and I had to go through state and Corps permit review just to change the shape, even to put in grade control in the bottom of the stream. You may end up with a smoother side slope, which would take care of your fall issue. You'd have a parabolic channel, but you're probably still going to end up with a bedrock subgrade. You're probably or grade. You're still going to end up at the bottom of the channel. That bedrock is natural, so that part of the stream is actually natural. It's the sides that are unnatural. Somebody's gone in there and made it more square and more aesthetic to them, but they've actually decreased the volume of the flow carrying capacity of the stream when they did that. If you have a stream like this as opposed to a stream like that, you got more volume flowing in that than you do this, unless you deepen it. But when you hit bedrock, you can't go any deeper, right? Unless you blast it out.
Right. That's what we
lower than the grade. You're not really getting any extra volume and flow. You're just getting a dip. So you don't really get a net gain. So there are other alternatives. I mean, if we were to grant in any kind of encapsulation, everybody would ask for that. And then
we try to avoid that.
And then we definitely have a challenge with local alterations to people's flood experience. So
how tall is the channel? It doesn't look tall. The photo from below makes
it varies. It's as much as 4.5 feet. It's as small as I think 2.5, 3 feet.
I mean, it's a pragmatic idea. Remove the channel.
The walls.
Remove the walls.
It's no longer a channelized stream.
So part of the reason you're thinking about putting a cover on it is
the fall.
The children getting in it and falling.
Yeah, I mean, our kids for sure. I mean, as much as we'd like them to walk over the bridge, I don't know. And also the neighbours' kids. I've got 3 kids under 5.
Rebecca, what's the thought from staff on like metal grating over it just so kids aren't in it, but it would allow, sunlight and, nutrients and things to get in from
That's
the
what they're
sides?
proposing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what you're
we're proposing like a hybrid, like having covering, like similar to the photos up before, sorry, Rebecca.
They're
Like
not
the existing
doing-
covering, but just having grates at past so the sunlight still comes in and the wind can come in and out. Like it's, it's just a variation on what's there is kind of what we're proposing with grates to enhance
It's
the
only,
light.
but part of it is, grading would only be a portion of that, wouldn't be the whole part.
Grading the whole thing would, I mean, might just make it difficult to, yeah, I don't know, it's just in practice, like 12 feet of grate feels like a lot. So it just makes it, feels like it's pretty unstable, but, you know, so we're thinking of, and sorry, this is my drawing, it's not very good, but just having the covering, but with like grates as part of the covering over some interval so the sunlight still comes in, the rain still comes in, whatever else. Which I know we'd have to fashion, we'd have to design that, probably have to get approved, but that was the idea.
Is this mostly dry or mostly wet? You have a lot of history of the properties.
Yeah, so we walked up the property north, and so that has seep. So during the winter months, and it's just about to come off, and that's why it's a little unlucky that it's even a stream, because apparently that seep goes down, and then we just have stormwater that conveys through from the construction properties particularly. So, you know, the timing's a little unfortunate in that sense, but if it's a stream, it's a stream. So, but yeah, that's the idea, it's seep, so.
And we're trending on not allowing an encapsulation. So would you be willing to accept removing the walls to solve the issue?
I'm probably not qualified to understand what that means. So it's just like making a stream suddenly?
No, just
actually make it wider.
Like what if you take off the top half of the stone and then just grade down to that so that it protects it from erosion.
Lowers the drop too.
Slope down to the channel lot.
I know that it's not going to give you a flat level yard, but I mean, this is what happens in the backyard of all these. And
it won't be any more dangerous than steps on your house.
Mm-hmm.
But now, are you also asking for an addition to your home in the buffer as well?
Yeah, it's like two things. Sorry, it's like an A and B. I think our primary concern is the safety. We thought, I mean, we're trying to do the minimum necessary. That's what's in the standards. And so we thought simply putting a cover with grates is certainly the minimum necessary. It could be done quickly. It wouldn't disturb the walls. It wouldn't disturb the bedrock. It wouldn't disturb anything. So we thought that would be useful. I think getting rid of a whole rock wall on either side for 100 feet sounds like it's going to disturb something. But the other part of it is, you're right, we are also looking to just, you know, even if it's 5 feet, because at the moment there's a house, the patio starts 7 feet behind the stream. And so obviously this was put in place 50 years ago and the buffer wasn't even, you know, relevant. But now that it could be relevant or is relevant, the buffer goes into the house. So we're just looking to build on the same residential property, the same footprint. And so we're asking for as little as 5 feet, just to, you know, we'll lose the patio, but we won't lose the full house.
Okay. So what about a fence, folks? Sometimes we've allowed fences in the zone 1 in these kinds of tight environments just to keep the elderly and kids from migrating that direction. Would a fence solve your problem?
We did think about a fence. I think it might have been mentioned by staff. We felt like it does disturb the flow of the property and looks like a farm or something.
Or aluminum fence, black aluminum.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's not preferable, but it actually does. If you were on the property, it would start looking very unusual.
All right, so it sounds like we've got a bit of a moving target with regards to your concern about safety with the stream. Ideally, it'd be better if we had a specific. Ideally, it'd be better if we had alternatives that you'd be willing to do that you already thought through that we could look at. It sounds like the great idea. It could be doable, but I don't know if a log's going to come floating down through there and knock the grate loose and then take it down to somebody else's property and damage somebody's property. I mean, typically that's why we don't want any obstructions that are man-made, you know, in floodways and in the zone 1. So we don't want things that can break loose. And maybe you don't want things that break loose because you're liable then.
Right. And maybe just on that point in terms of the alternatives, and John can talk to this a little better, we did, you know, next door neighbour has a pipe. They've got a culvert. So when we first thought of it, we thought, well, that would be easy and convenient and would really lock down. But in speaking in general with staff, culverts are kind of a 4-letter word. So we sort of moved off that. And then we actually thought a really good alternative would be the 3-sided box. And maybe it still is a good alternative. But we went to covering because we thought that would be least disruptive. That's how we got there. But again, I'm totally open to ideas and suggestions.
And that's what we appreciate. That's what a preliminary is for. It allows us to kind of sort this out. Okay.
And then in terms of the house, slightly different matter. And we know zone 1, again, any sort of relief is like a 4-letter word too, but this is not in a flood zone. It's a private residence. The channel's been there for 60 years or so. We think 5 feet won't affect much of anything. It will just give us a chance to build a home.
Well, to be honest, with changing rainfall patterns the way they are, we can't really predict what's a flood zone anymore and what's not, even based upon recent history. So, you could get a big rainfall event concentrated in this community, it would behave totally different. And that's happened in several places around the county since 2010. Changing flooding conditions and making them worse from 2010, but in a more isolated way, which is what happens with more raindrops in a more concentrated way. But it sounds like maybe this needs to be rethought a bit and brought back.
Continuous grading is essentially a 100-foot wide bridge, and that's what I think I'm struggling with. Mm-hmm. And where's are you trying to expand the house on the patio?
No.
In the sort of corner of the house, or where?
No. We're just trying to build on the current footprint. The 30 feet goes into the house, so we're just trying to preserve.
I mean, you can renovate the house. You don't have to remove the house. You can renovate that. Are you trying to expand the house?
Well, I guess that's a question then. The idea is we were looking to remodel the house, but significantly. I think it was built in 1950 or something. So we're looking to remodel the house. Our understanding was if we were to do that, the 30-foot buffer would kick in and would use it.
It's like an investment standard that they're going above. Yeah,
we're going to live in the house.
I think it's fair to say if you stay within the existing footprint, we're not going to.
Okay.
We're not going to say you got to tear it down and move it. When you start going outside of the existing permit, am I speaking out of turn on that?
Yeah, I would say you just can't expand. No, you're not speaking out of turn at all. As long as you're staying within the walls, there's no problem with that.
And that's helpful. Yeah. That's what we're trying to achieve. I just
we appreciate your sensitivity to that.
I just want to make sure it's okay to kosher to.
Yeah, I thought you were trying to put house on top of the existing patio.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, nothing. I mean, all we're really trying to do in essence, and sorry if I'm confusing anybody, my accent, is just build on the current.
We confuse ourselves.
Just build on the current footprint, period.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, very simply, put a cover with some grates on it to not encapsulate, to do the minimum to ensure that this channel runs exactly as it has been running for 60 years.
Yeah.
Without any issue, apparently, even under a 500-year event. So we thought all that was very logical and reasonable. And it is a direct plan, and we have gone through alternatives. We've looked at 5, 6, 7 alternatives, and so this is where we're at. And
all right, so this is preliminary. So we'll take Mike's comment in just a minute. So what I would like for the committee to do, just for the sake of moving things along, is just to be thinking about a motion that could give them preliminary advice for how to come back and make this a more logical, potentially approvable position based upon what we've described as approvable.
But if it's okay, I think, sorry to interrupt anyone, but this is our plan. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars to get to this point, believe it or not. And so we do want the committee, with respect, to consider this plan. The notion of tearing down the brick wall, we've thought about that for a brief moment. We didn't think that was going to be optimal. So this plan is our plan.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple of things in the spirit of this is a preliminary and maybe some information. One, I do think that if the geometry of the stream is changed, it would necessitate a little bit more engineering to make sure that it wasn't going to impact downstream property owners. Might not, but I think that would definitely include that element. As far as covering, a segment like this, I can tell you that historically, what we have seen across Metro is that makes those type of situations more prone to clogging and losing the capacity of that segment to communicate the amount and volume of water that it has. What we generally ask in those instances where people do encapsulate like ditches is they configure it such that it will still pass that amount of water in the event it does become clogged, so as not to impact any vicinity structures or folks. Have you looked at any of that in the event this did become blinded for some strange reason? And what we see is it normally stays clear, but all it takes is one piece of driftwood, and then over 2 or 3 storms, it starts to collect all sorts of stuff. So I just wanted to make you aware, because we have seen that in other areas where people incrementally cover, or at least did years ago, that can become a risk. And in looking at where this is, it could be a real issue. I'm assuming you'd expect Metro to come in and clear that if Metro could even get equipment back there and do that. Certainly, they wouldn't be able to do it at a moment's notice during a storm, but something for you to think about.
Yeah, great comment. I mean, so I think I've got a photo at some point, Rebecca, with what's upstream, I think it's contextual. Upstream is a culvert. It's a circular culvert that pipes water into the channel, and it's like this big. So that exists, that's been existing, it's been in place. Like, you can tell how small that is, and maybe you can't, it's quite black. But that's what exists today, and that feeds into so the notion that a tree flowing through that culvert, I think, is more limited, although I take your point. Also, it spills into a 12-foot by 4-foot passage. So you've got a little pipe spilling water, and it trickles down, for the most part, into a 12-foot by 4-foot passage. So that's why the previous owner, he said that ankle deep is the worst in 40 years. So we feel like there's such capacity that if we did cover it, we feel like it's, in this particular instance, it might be okay because it's got such huge capacity. But anyway, point taken. Yeah. Yes,
and we did visit the neighbors, 2-3 houses up, and it all looks very different. It's like a very small, shallow channel, and they talked us through any flooding issues, that there wasn't really any. One neighbor has a channel coming, I believe it's from Trimble. There was a construction site that they said they started getting water after they added a ditch in or something that converges, but it's all like very minor flow, very thin bodies, 2-3 houses up. So ours is dramatically wider, like they've just, and we can see one place where there's maybe like a drain pipe. They just expanded the wall to reach that little drain pipe. So it's been intentionally made like very wide, and just feels a bit treacherous for the kids.
Yeah, it's designed to pass flow quickly, which if you don't want water in your house, that's what people do.
Right.
It's not ideal for natural streams, but it's ideal for protecting a house.
And what's the drainage area?
40 acres, he said.
32 acres.
32 acres.
Yeah. That's what I think that's a rough calculation.
Okay. Did you want to ask something?
Yeah. So I totally appreciate your perspective on the safety issue, but I guess I'm also, like, as a parent, I'm more concerned about kids like going upstream and getting in a covered channel and playing, and something happening there. At least if it was uncovered, maybe you have a footbridge or two to help them across if you expect them to go play in the yard beyond the channel. I guess my thoughts are you could potentially create a worse safety condition for children by covering this, like you're talking about, than leaving it uncovered. Yeah. And why not encourage them to be down in the stream playing and getting wet and exploring that?
It's actually interesting you say that. I mean, at the moment, our plan is to cover part of it or most of it, but not all of it. Part of me thinks, why don't we just cover all of it and then you don't have any problem ever? You never have a safety problem. We'll never be here with anyone's child falling there and hurting themselves. That's the question.
Okay. All right.
Encapsulation, I mean, that's going to be considered encapsulation by TDEC, I would think. I would be supportive of disturbance of the buffers to reshape the drainage conveyance or stream to make it smaller, to put plants in there to keep, shrub rows or fencing or something to protect, to have a wider crossing with railings, and you're not stuck with that crossing that they have. I mean, that thing looks like you would fall straight off of it.
It's not that today.
Needs handrails regardless.
And you could put something wider, because you're going to have kids that are probably racing bikes across it. You can do something 10 feet wide. I mean,
Well, that's the question. How wide can we, how wide would you suggest? I mean, I think we'd be open to having, two in space and one, we're open, but it's.
Do you know what the regulations are, Logan, on width of crossing? Or, I mean, TDEC is going to say anything under 25 feet is the de minimis for permitting for crossing, as long as you stay out of the high water mark. And so if you just span it, that's fine. But I don't know what Metro.
And it's not like it's a naturalized buffer that's going to lose ecological services. That, I would support making it as wide as it need to be made within regulations to be safe. But, all right. So do we have enough to give them some advice? We got one more case behind us. Okay. All right.
I don't know what we're making a motion on, really.
All right, then somebody else needs to make the motion.
I mean, the first one, like we're not turning it down, but where there's nothing as presented that I know I can approve.
Yeah.
It's almost deferral is really the only thing that we can suggest.
That's good advice.
You've heard that we're fine with you reshaping, working in the buffer, disturbing the buffer. If you tear the house down and rebuild it in the same footprint, then I think that changes. But if you're renovating, then there's no problems.
That's your motion.
It will be significant.
Yeah, I will not vote you down if you were renovating the house.
Yeah, typically in these kinds of heavily altered buffers where the houses have historically been this close, and if you're not going outside the footprint, even if you cross that investment threshold that kicks in all these new buffer requirements, we work with you. Okay. All right.
Can we grant that variance contingent on that?
We probably don't want to encumber ourselves at this point, would be my.
I mean, can we make a motion to approve on a preliminary basis renovation of the house regardless of investment, but
is that what you're saying?
Okay. And separate the two?
Separate issue.
Yes, sir.
And then alteration of the stream bank would require an alternative solution than as presented.
Okay. Is that clear?
I think clear. So is the notion that, I'm sorry to belabor things, I'm sorry for those behind me, is the notion that covering with grates and not encapsulating is not appropriate?
I don't think so. I don't think you got the votes for that. Okay, so this gives you enough to feel confident that if you spend more money, you won't be coming back for a clear no. Okay, so we're trying to give you enough parameters to make sure that you won't be wasting your time by moving forward. Everybody feel good about that? I don't think anybody's going to get hit by a car between now and the next time you come back. So that would change the vote. So
got people chasing me
for no good reason, apparently. So, all right. Any further discussion on we don't have a second yet. So we have a motion to accept, regardless of the investment trigger, renovation of the home. We will work with them on the buffer requirements that are either triggered or not triggered by that, and they need to come back with a different proposal for the stream other than grates and encapsulation.
Do we need to make the renovation of the home specify that it's within the current footprint?
Yes, we probably do.
I mean, I think that's implied by renovation.
Okay.
Okay, of expansion.
All right. So you want to restate your motion that way, just for the record?
We will make a motion to approve a preliminary application for renovation of the existing home in its current footprint, regardless of investment, and an alternative plan for alteration of the stream will be subject to
future proposal. Okay. That clear?
Yes.
All right. I think second. All right. We have a new second. We have a motion that's been seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstain? Mad at the world? All right. Motion passes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for the hard work and the preliminary. All right. So our last case is Sawyer Brown Road, 7433 Sawyer Brown. So if you'll come forward, welcome. Did you hear your legal rights of appeal read earlier, sir? Okay. All right. So we will read you your rights of appeal so that sounds better. And we'll describe the case from the staff's perspective. We'll open up a public hearing to see if there's anyone here that might be for or against what you're proposing. We'll entertain letters from county council representatives, members of the public, emails, whatever. But then we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll come back to you for discussion. So we'll give you 10 minutes to make your presentation after Mr. Bowman introduces it.
Opening statement to the applicant. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Stormwater Management Committee, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the committee's decision. You are advised to seek the independent advice of legal counsel to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been satisfied. Case number 5 on the agenda is case 2023-0001, 7433 Sawyer Brown Road at 7433 Sawyer Brown Road. APN 114-000-24400. Inspector is Kimberly Hayes. Council District 22, Gloria Hauser. Applicant's request: disturbance of the Zone 2 floodway buffer to build a driveway. Continuous mowing and maintenance of portions of the stream buffer. Appellant is Big V Rentals, LLC, represented by Marlon Bonilla, Archeptopo Studio. Comments: Stormwater staff. Applicant is proposing a driveway related to construction of a garage. Applicant is also requesting to mow and maintain portions of the Zone 1 buffer and floodway. Codes, no comment provided. Planning, no comment provided. Greenways, no comment provided.
Okay. We're going to give you 10 minutes to make your proposal. If there's any other issues associated with this tract, some of which we're aware of, we'll ask you to address those as well. We're following the procedure to address the variance that you proposed. But if there are any other circumstances that we need to address, we'll come back to you with those after this discussion. Okay. All right. So if you'd like to proceed, introduce yourself, and I'll start the clock. Yeah, if you'll push that button until it turns red. There you go.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. My name is Marlon Bonilla, and I'm the architectural project designer. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Virginia Anderson for Big V Rentals. And I apologize, the civil engineer, he had an issue and he couldn't make it. So, well, hopefully I can address questions and we can move forward with the project. So this property was purchased by the owner, I believe, in August 2021. When she purchased it, I understand that she wasn't aware of the floodplain and the issues she might have. I understand that there's an existing residence in the house that's being remodeled. And we are proposing is a, 4,800 square foot building to be built outside of the buffer zone. However, there's a portion of the driveway to access that building that is inside of the buffer zone. Since the property was purchased, it had the driveway that comes along from Sawyer Brown. That is a gravel road. We were trying to investigate since when the gravel road was there. We were looking at previous pictures, satellite pictures. 2006, it doesn't show it. for some reason, we couldn't find anything for 2007, and 2008, it shows the gravel road. So that's just for the record. We tried to think of other ways to give access, but according to the way the buffer goes, it's the same. It's going to be the same case. Our alternative site plan shows the same type of driveway, but we would just be using a previous gravel driveway just as a alternative solution, because the one that we're proposing right now is a concrete driveway. And as you can see in some of the pictures that we added in C1.3, this is a residential property, and you can see that it's been maintained and mowed. Obviously, for obvious reasons, not only the aesthetic reasons, but also, I believe, for safety. There's going to be kids and there's going to be family. The owner is requesting a permit to continue mowing these areas as the same way it's been all the time. You can see it's all been maintained. And we are showing in our plan to keep the pretty much the maintenance in the same areas to the limit of the fence, basically. And let me see, we have also provided a mitigation plan designed by our landscape architect from Cumberland Design, where he proposed to plant deciduous trees and shrub planting, and of course, put in mulch beds as a mitigation option. And let me see, I think that would be it.
Is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. All right, we'll open the public hearing now for anyone that might want to speak in favor or against the current proposal. Is there anyone here to do that? All right, seeing none, do we have any emails, letters, telegrams of comment on this proposal?
I had some comments from the neighbor. I think that her primary concern is the location of the garage, potentially. There was a lot of confusion because it says driveway. I think people thought maybe they were accessing off a major road when it's really more like a parking pad almost. I mean, there's a driveway that goes into a garage. So that was the majority of my explanations to neighbors. This particular neighbor was just wondering if it's inside the current fence limits and that they were not encroaching on her property. But I assume that proper setbacks and things like that are going to be, adhered to. But I just don't know where it's at in relation to the existing fence.
But it's shown on the site plan, it goes straight to the structure.
So you'd be moving that existing fence back to the property line?
Yes.
But all that's out of the buffer, and is all that out?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was her concern. I'm just expressing the neighbor's.
So just make sure everybody understands that someone was concerned about something kind of outside of our discussion today, I guess. But it's good peripheral knowledge. Okay. Is the owner here today?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So you might not be able to answer this question, but this is a due process question. When did the owner first acquire this property?
I'm sorry, you're asking about the date when they, they purchased it on August 18, 2021.
Okay. Did they build the home that's there now?
No, sir.
Okay. So the home that was constructed there was owned by a previous owner.
That's correct.
Okay. So that previous owner would have been the one that would have had to come to us with a buffer variance for the driveway for the home that was built in 2021. All right. So the current owner is not a focus of any kind of prior variance request that was not addressed on this property at all. Is that correct?
I think what he's saying is that his client bought the property in 2021, but the house I'm not sure when the house was.
The house was built in 2008.
Okay, but it would have been after the buffer ordinance. Okay.
There wouldn't, I don't think, be a buffer enforcement pending on this case.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, because in my back and forth with the staff, it was clear the house was built after the ordinance was passed, and it was clear that there wasn't a variance request for the driveway in the Zone 2. Okay, but since we're not dealing with that original owner, we don't have an issue that we have to deal with you and your current owner as a representative of those owners. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody understood that. So the previous owner did not come to us for a variance request for the driveway. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's, the new owner is not encumbered by that. Is that fair to everybody? Okay, all right. Okay, just want to make sure we got a clean process. All right, any other questions about what's being proposed?
Yeah, but are there garage doors on that side? Or what's the purpose of such a wide concrete driveway?
Well, I believe she wants to park a camper and maybe other vehicles she might have. So that's the reason why the size of that garage.
It appears that it's about 4 or 5 feet of relief across that driveway.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Or from the existing drive, it ties in around a 434, and the finished floor is a 440. And that's 6 feet. It looks like it varies from 35 to 60 feet. I mean, that's a slope. And so I'd be, what is this structure? Is it a garage? Is it a?
It's just going to be a garage and a slab.
And then it's buried.
Probably a metal building.
So it's buried 8 feet. So is the metal building going to sit on an 8-foot retaining wall
We have some retaining walls proposed. Since we're not dealing with the building right now, there's some specifics that we haven't addressed. And at this time, we're just trying to address the driveway and see if. But yes, we have some. Let me see.
Without seeing where the garage doors are to see how much this could be limited, I'd be real concerned about the slope of it just even functioning on what we're approving. Mm-hmm. And then what happens to the lost buffer area? Like, what's the drainage area that typically goes through this footprint and across that driveway?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at the GIS map, I mean, it goes up a hill, and there's a fair amount of water coming straight at the back of that structure.
Right.
And so what happens to that? Is it routed to another buffer, or is it, it just seems like there's a lot of challenges here. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they've all been thought through. So I'd be hesitant to act on anything as presented.
And the other question I've got is, does this driveway buffer intrusion trigger a requirement for them to request a continuous mowing of the Zone 1? Because they're currently mowing it, right?
Theoretically, it should have been back in 2008. They should have installed buffer signage and not mowed the Zone 1 then, because there was a buffer.
So my perception of that would be that since it's a new owner, they wouldn't, technically, this is a legal question maybe, they wouldn't be required to put in buffer signage and to stop mowing the buffer or to ask for a variance for it unless they created another change to the property that triggered the buffer ordinance again.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Which they have with the renovation of the house. Okay. That's where the conversation
is. The renovation of the house as well.
It's above the investment.
Above the investment threshold, okay. So we probably need to address the Zone 1 as well, the mowing of Zone 1. It's pretty clear they're mowing the Zone 1.
This is a single-family residential case, correct, Logan? Yeah. So I can't speak entirely for Development Services, how they handle these. Sometimes if the area of disturbance is very localized. The application of the buffer can be localized. If you think a 5-10 acre parcel and they're just doing something on one corner, on this one, I don't know the particulars, but I know generally speaking, when a property does impact the buffer, it kicks in the buffer for the entire parcel, all things being the same.
Okay. Okay, so you got kind of two reasons today for us not to be able to address this. Zone 1 buffer, the design of water flow around this building and how that affects water quality, flooding, all that other stuff. So you want us to defer, or you want us to?
Is there any way to be approved with contingencies and just present?
Not vague contingencies. We have to have specific contingencies, and I can't imagine, we can't do the design work. As a panel, that kind of has to be presented to us.
Right.
So do you want to defer?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
All right, so we need a motion for deferral.
In the interest of this being a preliminary, one thing I might offer as staff who looks at the mitigation is to maybe think outside. It appeared in your initial submittal, you were thinking just in terms of the area of disturbance. You might want to think about other areas of the parcel that wouldn't impact the safety concerns you articulated as potential mitigation areas, and think in terms of equal or greater offset of what you're doing. So you might not, if you're looking to expand your mitigation, you might not want to just limit yourself to the local vicinity there if you have other places on the parcels where trees or other vegetation could go in.
Michael, the checklist is filled out as a final. It's not in the preliminary column.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, it's a final. This is not a preliminary.
Yeah, but he was just being optimistic. Okay.
And
All right.
just for the committee's knowledge, what we're saying here is that the return submittal needs to include provisions related to what will happen now in the Zone 1 buffer, which is no mow.
Yeah, you'll have to come out with either a request to continue mowing the Zone 1, or you could use restoration of the Zone 1 with new trees, not that would just regenerate from the discontinuance of mowing, as mitigation for whatever you're proposing. That's me saying that. That's not a whole committee agreeing with
I
that
think they had proposed some plantings.
in the zone.
That was the one-to-one replacement for the buffer disturbance.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did say preliminary, but I meant deferral.
Oh, that's okay. We're way beyond that, Michael. Sometimes I'm that far behind too, so don't worry. So the bottom line is.
Now, I'm sorry, those plantings that the landscape architect proposed, those are in Zone 1, I believe. So,
sir,
the plantings that the landscape architect proposed, those are located in Zone 1. So.
All of them? I thought there was a tree next to the driveway on the right side that may be in the Zone 2. It really doesn't matter at this point.
Okay.
We're just giving you options.
I'd also suggest the landscape architect coordinate with the grades, because they're putting trees right in the swale.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to obstruct.
I see like an existing culvert under the pipe under the road there.
Yes, that's existing.
Yeah. So that might not be the best for that capacity.
But the kind of advice that Michael just gave you is the kind of advice you can get regularly between now and the time that you come back. They're wise, they're good. It'll speed up the process.
Okay.
All right. Assuming they stay that way, particularly Rebecca Doan and her excellence. All right, anything else? Got a motion?
Motion to defer.
All right, got a motion to defer. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? We have a deferral. See you in 30 days. Okay. Let's see. I apologize to moving you to the end because I needed to think through what was happening. I didn't have all the facts, so that's why I did that. So. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So do we have any other items of business, Mr. Bowman? You could be the most popular man in the world if you say no right now.
I will say nothing that takes too long. We are still looking to get another member. I think that's in process. Tara and I have been working on that, so.
An attorney
Yes, it would be an attorney.
through the new process,
Yes.
nominated by the Nashville Environmental Section of the
It
Nashville
will
Bar.
be, yes. So, there's some interest for sure. I don't know how long that process will take at this point because it's changed. So we'll see.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody want to pick on Jay anymore? Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved, seconded.
So moved. Unproperly seconded. You seconded. All right. Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.